You know, I'd say I don't know if what I'm about to say is similar, but I mean it's a position that persons like me have that I know a lot of people I know have the same perception of things. That is like I really do believe that that all the sort of like hostility or concern that this sort of like concern about people in our country who are undocumented, that the entire every single person who's like on the who's really worried about this, like closing the border, and we got to do something about illegal immigrants, that they're all just racist against immigrants, because I'm saying it's not something that's bought. How can I say? Then I like, in other words, it's like my friend I was say, said that like the whole thing is a lot of unemployed white guys with binoculars is what's going on. Like there's a lot of racist unemployed white people with binoculars there. They're looking at the border. I mean, I don't think it's not something that it's an issue, but it's only an issue for. It should just be an issue of like I don't know, policymakers or people who are in our whatever they want to do. But who these people are all over the country that but claim that they're extremely upset and worried about the amount of undocumented people in our country. Why? It was what is it? What is it? I mean, they can make all they say. Well, they go to the emergency room and they. But I mean, I don't know what you'd have to have a problem with. It's not. I mean, if it's not bothering you, it's one thing to say you're not sympathetic to it or you're not worried about it, or someone like me who's very sympathetic to the fact that people like that are like getting harassed all the time by the INS. But where this voice in our country comes from that wants politicians like you better do something about undocumented workers. What's it driven by other than their like sort of racism against like immigrants? I mean, what would be what is it? It's not affecting them I'm trying. They're not being affected by it. I mean, they're just not. Desperate people like not making any money. Scared of the INS. Like, okay, what in a way? They can come on and say whatever they want on these shows, but I mean, what's motivating them to have this concern with our border and and undocumented workers? What is it? What interest of theirs is it harming? And the answer is I don't. What's the problem? They could. I know all the arguments. I know all the issues that would come up for a policymaker. Like, oh, it's costing. It'll cost the tax in the big picture. It costs the taxpayers because such people use the emergency room, or it's a concern because some people who are. The issue of crime, I don't really understand because citizens commit crimes too. Like, I don't know where that's coming into it. Like, if someone commits a crime and they have citizenship, or someone is arrested for a crime and turns out they weren't a citizen. Okay, but I mean that's just the issue of crime. It doesn't have to do with whether or not you have documentation or whether or not you're a citizen. It's not a specifically. That's not a. That doesn't come into it. I mean, all the arguments are always like, no, I don't buy that people are that. Why are they so upset about it? What's this? Am I doing something wrong? I don't know what I'm doing right and wrong ever. But that's the whole thing about that issue. I mean, and one of the things that's not talked about a lot, people who are really. This is one I don't really know for a fact, but I mean, it does seem like although people are extremely sensitive to the issue of the fact that our countries filled with people who are racist against black people, I'm actually the issue of tons of people are just racist against immigrants from Latin America. I mean, they equally so. I mean, that's driving a lot of these, like, do something about the border, like, things, I mean, the people, you got to do something to close the border. I mean, what's it bothering? Where they that I really do see that never comes up. That they may just be racist against immigrants. I don't know. Is it? What do they know? I mean, what I'm trying to think. What would be affecting them personally about the situation? What are they? Do they use the emergency room all the time? And what? And that they find that they can't every time they go to the emergency room that there's a lot of people there who may be undocumented or something. I mean, it doesn't. There's no possible reason it's bothering them that much. Law enforcement's different. I could see if law enforcement has the people in the law enforcement profession, they have they're really concerned about it. Okay. But what's this guy? He just, Who is he? Work for the Justice Department? He's gonna blow the whistle on people who aren't. I mean, I just don't understand really. I mean, I do understand. It's like they're just racist, or like my friend said, unemployed and angry, or stuff like that. It's something of the psychology of it makes it this note. I could pick people who like you close the border. It's one of those types of things that like someone who's got like a lot of issues on the inside of themselves would be worried about. Like like they like that's we're gonna go watch the border. Like it's that mentality. Like they're guarding the country. That kind of thing. Like. But I don't know what that's all about with people like that. But they have them on these shows, and. That's that, but it's an invisible kind of racism because it's not talked about much. That kind of racism against immigrants, like they're just not. Which funny because in our history, that's always the case. Everyone who comes here as the immigrant group, they can tell you the history of how badly they were treated, how much racism was against them in the first generation they were here, including in my family. Including certainly in the Irish, anyone who came to the country at some point as an immigrant, there's a wave of hatred of the group, and then they just been later on that's not a problem. And we look back at that history and like scratch your head, like why were people so hateful? Oh, okay. I don't know. I thought you wanted to talk to me. I don't know. I made a lot of this today. I don't know if I'm doing any good.